Bwaaa!
Bwaaa trash fight all through the night, deep in the heart of Texas. The trailer park is nice and dark, deep in the heart of Texas. That drinks his brew and he spits his chew, deep in the heart of Texas. The TV blares, but no one cares, deep in the heart of Texas. Here we go!
Welcome back to Bwaaa, a King of the Hill rewatch podcast. I am Mike.
And I'm Rusty.
There he is. Rusty, we are here for Season 1, Episode 4, and it is entitled...
Actually, I don't think I had this one written down.
I didn't either. That's why I asked you.
It was something... Oh, yeah, something about Willie, I think is what it is.
Yeah,
something
it's
about
Hank,
Willie.
Hank gets the Willies.
Yeah, Hank gets the Willies.
That's what it is.
Hank
That's
gets
what it
the
is.
Willies.
There you
Yeah,
go. We are the foremost authorities.
There we go.
So we start this one out with what we don't know yet is a dream, and it's at Willie Nelson's Pedernales Club. Is that
Pedernales.
Pedernales?
Something like that,
Yeah, Pedernales Club. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, what does it say? No spitting, no fighting, no gambling.
spitting, no
And
fighting.
then when it had gambling, it had parentheses with like a he, ha, ha in the middle of there, yeah.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Willie Nelson got in some real trouble with the IRS for a while.
Yeah, he had some real big IRS issues. He actually, while he was in trouble with the IRS, he wrote a whole album. The IRS, the album was titled something about the IRS. It was like the IRS.
Right.
Oh, the IRS can't take my memories or something like that.
Yeah,
Something along those lines.
I did look up Pedernales. There's no way I'm saying that right. It says it is in Gillespie County, Texas.
Okay.
It is the county seat for Fredericksburg.
Oh, okay.
I don't
I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
Also on that sign, it says no more than 12 in your foursome.
Yeah.
So enjoyed that. So we see Hank playing golf with Willie Nelson.
Yep.
The
synchronicity and their tee off.
They tee off together. Dead solid perfect, they both say, and then they sit down to drink their Alamo beers, and then
the funny thing I've thought about is when they chucked it into a recycling bin,
Right.
not on the ground or in a
Right.
trash can. It had the recycle symbol
Right
on
into
it,
the recycle bin.
which is speaks to Willie Nelson, I guess. More about Hank than Willie, I think, on that one.
Sure. And then Willie wants to jam, and so they have this perfect jamming moment, and this hummingbird is just kind of around them. It's just this beautiful
Yeah, it's just
summer.
like a little serene moment for him.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you start hearing clang, 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 and Hank wakes up, and it's Bobby strumming on Hank's guitar,
Beating on it.
just
beautiful
beating the hell out of it.
guitar.
Yeah. So we go straight to the credits, and as the keeper of the flame here, I want to let you know, no yell, no bell.
No yell, no bell on this one. Okay.
We had the straight credits.
All right.
And then we're still in Bobby's room. Hank's, hey, have you lost your mind? Bobby said, I could have been naked. You need to.
Yeah, I could have been naked. You could have knocked.
naked.
And he's standing on his bed doing this
Yeah.
Elvis arm
Yeah.
swing, just beating the crap out of this antique guitar.
And Hank is really upset because this is Betsy. This is Betsy the guitar.
Yeah, the guitar he even took to prom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Betsy is not a toy. She's a 1963 gilded solid top. And then he finds out that the guitar smells like cheese.
Yeah, and then Bobby, he's got this poster of what is
Celery Head.
which is a parody, of course, of Carrot Top.
Yeah.
And he talks about Eddie Cheddar. That's what he says. He says,
That's right.
I'm Eddie Cheddar.
That's right.
Because his dad was saying the guitar smelled like cheese.
Prop comic.
Yeah, he's a prop comic. And then he talked about a prop comedy about the shoe.
Yeah.
You got that written down there?
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly he said.
He said, oh, no, I don't have the joke about that.
Oh, you don't have the joke? No, he said that he attached a shoe.
Oh, yeah. He glued a Kleenex box to a shoe and said, you got a runny
And he
nose.
knows. Yeah.
And Hank just looks at him and goes, what is a celery head?
What is a celery? Yeah, and then he said, that's not comedy. Yeah.
That's not a joke, son. That's a good waste of glue.
Yeah.
And then Bobby proceeds to tell him how celery head makes $3 million a year.
Yeah, how's that green-haired freak make $3 million a year?
He must have got that wrong. People don't pay money to see things like that.
Yeah, which they do. We paid.
Sure.
You paid money for us to go see
Sure,
something a
that's
lot
right,
worse than
that's
a
right.
cheddar guitar.
And then Hank tells him, which I thought was really weird that he brings up this performer and he goes, now Robert Klein, that's something people pay money
That's
for.
something-
Robert Klein, what the hell? Anyway, woke up Peggy and tells him that some green-haired freak told our son to rub cheese on my guitar. And Peggy is, that's at Celery Head. I saw him on Entertainment Tonight.
Yes.
He makes $3 million a year.
And he just can't believe that somebody would pay that much. And then he starts ranting about how Bobby woke him up from golf dream
That's
number
right.
3.
Golf dream number 3. He, the funniest thing to me in King of the Hill is some of the little short asides, just stuff that just throwaway stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like this one where Luann walks out and he goes, "Good Lord, put on some pants." And she says, "I'm wearing shorts." He goes, "Bah, don't scare me like
That's
that."
scary like that. And but that's the funny thing is he always acts so taboo about her when she's
Yeah.
in a towel or something
Yeah.
like that. But she barely wears any clothes as a character.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true. That's true. Anyway, he starts talking about how Bobby chipped Betsy's bridge and woke him up from Willie Nelson golfing dream number 3. Peggy's just there to calm him down. It's just wood and wires.
And then he starts. He gets really like emotional about it. I love this guitar. Do you
That's right.
understand? You understand what I mean? Do you know what love is?
Well, I love my family.
He said, "Yeah, exactly.
That's the
That's kind of love I have for this guitar."
That's right, that's right.
And he was mad too. You can see all the emotion in him. Yeah.
And then again, what I thought was weird for Hank, he's going to go back to bed. Everybody's up. It just seems like Hank's the guy that ought to be up before everybody else.
everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going back to bed.
And then he asked Peggy if she's going to come. She said, "Nah, I wouldn't want to make Betsy jealous." And then again, one of the little asides, you hear Hank off in the next room, headed towards the bedroom, and he goes, "Luann, don't sit like that." So we get Bobby out on the lawnmower. He's out in the backyard on Hank's riding lawnmower.
Hits the brake release.
Well, and before that, you hear him saying,
Oh yeah, he's imitating his
"I
dad. Yeah.
sell propane and propane accessories. Shut up, Dale."
Yeah, shut up, Dale. That was my favorite one. Yeah, shut up, Dale.
And then he slowly, very slowly, runs into Hank's truck.
Extremely slowly, like with enough time for
Yeah.
Bobby to hop off, or even just all you do is just reach down and hit the
Right.
brake.
He
stop
literally
it.
could have just
Yeah,
gotten
could
in
have
front of it. It
gotten
would
in
have
front
been
of it.
fun.
Would have been over with.
Hank, this wakes Hank up again. He's startled and he says,
Well, you know what? Hold on before we go any further. You know what kind of
Yeah.
startled me? That Hank's yard would have that much of a role to it. You
Sure.
think that Hank Hill, being the guy who's got the primo lawn, would have it leveled out there perfectly.
"Yeah, you think he'd be graded better."
Yeah.
Anyway, it wakes him up and he's startled by saying, "No, Willie, that's a one-way street." And then
Yeah, because he
that's what
hears him
wakes
hit.
him up.
Yeah.
And he asked Bobby what happened to his truck. Bobby's response is, "Your mower hit it."
Yeah, your mower hit it.
Like he didn't have anything to do with it. And then Hank talks about sending his mower to one of those children's psychiatrists. All right, next thing we see is Peg and Luann out pitching the ball back and forth.
Oh, she's throwing heaters right at Luann. Luann's like, "Come on, chill out."
Yeah.
She's busting her hand up.
Yeah, and this is when you kind of figure who Peggy is. Like this is the first mention of her playing softball or being she does that big wind-up pitch. And
Yeah,
that sort
she
of
kind
thing.
of alluded to it when she kick-started the car for
That's
them
true.
in
That's
the
true.
Order the Arrow episode. But this episode really shows that Peggy Hill is a tomboy.
Yeah.
I feel like she's like a tomboy,
100%.
and she's burning her. Like she's not just throwing the ball; she's
Yeah.
like hammering the ball.
And she's got a good
Luann.
solid stance with those 16
Oh, yeah.
triple E's too.
Yeah, good solid stance. She could lean all the way forward, all the leverage.
Luann says, "If I break another nail, I'm going to fail my manicure final."
Yeah.
So she has to ease up a little bit. Then we get Peggy, and Peggy questions her about what's going on at school, and she says, "Oh, I'm also failing braid work." And
Oh,
Peggy,
yeah.
Peggy has a little bit of advice for her. She says, braid work does not come natural to the women in our family, honey. You know it, I know it, and the whole town knows
That's what
it.
was funny. Yeah, the whole town knows it, and she's not even from that town
That's what I'm
originally. She's
saying.
from Montana.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
didn't even know. Anyway, we go. The horn on the truck is just constantly going off because it's been hit by the mower. Bill, really helping out, says, "Sounds like your horn's going off."
And then Dale climbs up or whatever, and he goes, "I was a nose hair away from obtaining inner peace."
That's right.
Yeah.
He was meditating. Yeah.
What's that chinging noise? There's a soundboard on the internet of Hank Hill, and that's one of the sounds that's on there is that. What's that chinging noise?
Dale informs him that it's probably a stealth helicopter with noise canceling capability. They're still working to get the chings out.
They're still working to get the chings out.
Anyway, the horn stops honking because Dale kicked the truck, and Hank tells him don't take credit for that.
Yeah.
And then Bill wants to know how Dale knew about the stealth helicopters. And Dale says you got to go to alt.conspiracy.black.helicopters.
Yeah, black dot helicopters.
And then then again, it's another one of those asides. If you want the ultimate aside here, it's Boomhauer every time, right?
Yeah, every time.
He's dang old internet, baby, click, 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 naked chicks. It's real easy, man.
Yeah. Click, 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 click.
So next thing we see is Bobby. He is now using a pitching wedge, which we assume is Hank's. To,
6-iron.
Oh, it's a 6-iron?
It's a 6-iron, yeah. He's out there hitting dog shit with a 6-iron in the backyard.
I thought it was dirt clots,
Yeah.
and so did Hank. He said, "Don't use a man's pitching wedge to hit clumps of mud. It's not mud; it's dog doo, Dad."
Yeah, it's dog doo, Dad.
So, and if I'm not mistaken, we're only on episode 4 here, but Hank is then in the kitchen scrubbing down the golf club. And is this the first time he says that boy ain't right? I think it is.
I think it might be.
I think this is the first.
This
boy
might
ain't
be
right.
the first. The boy ain't right.
Uh-huh. And then Peggy comes in, and you see that it kind of runs in the family because she's very upset that Hank's using Carlos.
Oh yeah.
The dish brush.
The dish brush.
Anyway.
And I think that's really just speaking to her jealousy. I think she's just being facetious because of how
sure.
Hank is about his guitar, and it kind of really bothers her at the end of the day.
Why can't Hank wants to know why Bobby can't do something useful like that boy in Canada that ran across with no legs?
Oh yeah, yeah. The guy with one leg that ran across Canada. Yeah,
that's right. Peggy says that Hank needs to spend some more time with Bobby,
and he goes, "A full 18 holes. That's a lot of stress for a young boy.
It is a lot of stress for a boy." But she thinks that needs to spend a little time mano a mano.
Mano a mano. Yeah, her Spanglish.
Yeah. The funny thing is her being the substitute teacher of the year and teaching Spanish. So Hank feels bad. He's out there trying to apologize to Bobby.
Well, he's talking to Bobby for a second, and then he's Bobby, and he's sitting there playing the Game Boy, not paying attention to him.
Tells him he's got a problem with concentration. Takes the Game Boy away from him, and Bobby's real upset because Hank just killed him. He said, "Well, you needed killing."
Yeah, you might have needed a little killing.
You don't have any goals. Bobby's like, "Can we go to Six Flags?" Yeah.
And then he starts talking about you need idols and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
you
how
need
he
a
talked
hero.
about how his hero was Willie Nelson, and then he talks about
He said, "You need a hero beside that broccoli neck."
Yeah, that broccoli neck. And then he says, "Well, who are your heroes, Bobby?" He said, "Oh, Eddie Stilson. He got to level 16 on Scream Ninja."
That's right. Scream Ninja.
And then he starts talking about Howard Adderley or whatever it is, or Hank said you're going to end up like that Jason Adderley son.
Hank is real worried about him ending up like Jason Adderley.
And then it shows they're sitting there playing Howard Adderley. They're sitting there playing cards. Jason Adderley's the dad.
Yeah.
So they're playing cards or whatever, and then Hank gets up to look for the bathroom. He's, "Oh, I'm bursting." And then he goes and grabs and opens the door, and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry." And it was a kid at a computer that looked like a damn alien.
He did look like an alien. Didn't have any hair. He was all green. Yeah.
They did really good to I guess that's the early stereotypes of what a video gamer was back then. Yeah, back then a video gamer was like you're a extreme nerd back then if you play games, whereas now it's like a cultural thing. No, it's a cultural thing now. Everybody, I think, does it. But yeah, no, it probably hasn't changed too much.
Bobby's excited because Howard Adderley is his number 2 hero.
Yeah, number 2 hero.
He said, Bobby, you need to be lectured all afternoon. So, anyway, he ends up taking Bobby golfing.
Well, he takes the guitar with him, too. And then he tells Bobby...
He straps Betsy into the seatbelt.
He tells Bobby specifically, sit in the middle, put Betsy in front of the airbag.
Bobby is on his way to go golfing with his dad, and he asks him about who his heroes are. And, of course... Hank is talking about Willie Nelson, how he grew up in Texas. He loves golfing and playing guitar. And Hank grew up in Texas. He loves golfing and playing guitar. He had trouble with the IRS, and I must have spent 6 hours on that 1040 form. Easy my ass.
Easy my ass.
So he asked Bobby who his hero is, and he says Willie Nelson also. And he's just like, well, you're just saying that because I said Willie Nelson. He said, no, Dad, he's alternative.
Yeah, he said, he's got long hair, Dad. He's alternative. He's not alternative. I followed him, and he starts naming all the genres of music.
He said, you take that back. I followed him from country and western to country to adult contemporary, and that's as far as I'm going.
But the fun fact on that is actually Willie Nelson has never created an album underneath the adult contemporary genre.
Yeah.
All his albums have been either country or
What about
blues.
Stardust? Stardust is adult contemporary, isn't it? Because it's like standards.
They don't consider it adult contemporary.
Oh,
It wasn't like on the bill, whatever the adult contemporary billboard
I don't doubt
was.
that. They drive by Willie Nelson's Country Club, which is locked up and says property of the IRS on it. And you see a couple of IRS officials over there in a golf cart.
Yeah, they drive by on the golf cart, That goes back to old Willie's tax issues.
Yeah, we get that a couple more times.
Which is funny. That's what I like about Willie Nelson is everybody, assumes that since he's this Texas boy that he's just going to be a diehard conservative. And it's real funny when you still see it, even after all these years and his politics have been known, you still see it on social media and stuff like that where people are talking about Willie Nelson. And I'm like,
he's very liberal,
Very liberal.
Yeah, smoked dope in the White House.
Oh, yeah.
It says then we get Luann and being driven to hair school by Peg.
Yeah, to go practice or take her test or whatever it is.
Yeah, and she's pumped up. She's going to show that braiding machine who's boss. But she gets in there and quickly gets caught up in the braid.
And I was really impressed with how she managed to do that because she braided it all the way to the floor and her hands were stuck dead in the center of it.
All right, and then we get Hank and Bobby are taking the guitar by for repairs. They're taking it to Earl's Guitars. He does new, used, and repairs, as seen on the window. And we get and this is Earl is voiced by the same guy who does Bill.
Yeah,
Stephen Root, and he says, "What do you think's wrong with it?" And he says, "Well, the bridge is the symptom, but fret asymmetry is the disease."
I really think I like the voice that he chose to do for the guitar guy. The voice that he created for that, it's just real unique. I think it's comical too. He's real kind of. It seems like he's only smart with guitars. Yeah, like the guy's only focused on guitars.
Oh, the guy lives for guitars. Yeah, he does comment that the guitar smells like a belly button.
And I like how he says it smells like a belly button.
Smells like a belly button. And then they start talking about it, and of course Earl's son Les, and I'm assuming named after Les Paul, is standing there, and he goes like celery head, and he gets in on the whole celery.
He gets in on it, yeah. And his dad looks just as disappointed as Hank looks.
I'm Camembert Humperdinck.
Yeah, and he goes, "Well, go back there and get alphabetize guitar strings." He goes, "By letter."
By letter. Just go.
Just go. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we find out how funny Earl is because he asks Hank about selling the guitar, and Hank says, "No, it's not for sale." He says, "Well, most guys would sell their wives before they'd sell a guitar like this," and both of them chuckle.
And then
Hank's like, "Man, I got to remember that one."
And then he goes,
"Such a good joke."
Yeah. And then he goes, "Well, I got a mess of them." And then he goes, "Hold on, what does he say?"
He goes, "I got a million of them." And he says, "Women and guitars both come with strings attached."
Yeah, strings attached. And then he goes,
and then Hank's like leaning in, listening for the rest of them. You know, the big ones.
And then he says, "Well, I guess that's the only ones I got."
Yeah. So, and then we see a kind of a montage of Peggy around town. She talks to the mechanic. She talks to the hairdresser. She goes to a garage sale, and it's all griping about Betsy.
That's
about
it
how
the whole
Hank
time.
loved Betsy's. Yeah. She ends up buying a guitar for $5 or so the tag says.
Just to smash it, yeah.
From Mrs. Hellman. Yeah, and then just busts it right there on the ground. I don't know what Mrs. Hellman was thinking, but she had to be horrified.
Yeah. Well, Peggy, you know, she's different. She
is
definitely
Hoo-yah.
has a lot. Yeah, hoo-yah.
Hoo-yah.
Definitely got a lot of residual mental health problems.
So we transition to Hank, Dale, Boomhauer, Bill, and Bobby all out at the Arlen Public Golf Course. Boomhauer drives the ball. And it seems like, again, Boomhauer is the best at most of these things.
Yeah. Boomhauer definitely seems. It's like him and Hank are the two athletic ones out of the bunch for sure. Hank's pretty. He does pretty good when there's sporting activities involved.
Well, we find out later that they were all on the same football team, and Bill was like the big dumb blocker. He was like he would just get in the way. But Bill.
No, he's the big dumb running back.
Oh, that's right.
The Bill-dozer. Bill-dozer.
Right.
Bill Dozer, yeah.
Bill's been thinking about this whole hero worship thing, and he thinks that Santa Claus would be a good hero for Bobby. Yeah. He gets all those packages in 24 hours all over the world.
And then Hank tells him he's dumb or something like that, and he goes, "Well, aren't you a mean one, Mr. Grinch?"
Santa Claus is for babies. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Dale drives, and of course Dale's bad at it. Yep. He exclaims about the damn Russian titanium alloy.
Yeah, he tries to bend it. Yeah,
that's right. Bill then gets up there to drive the ball, and he goes into his swing and then just stops for a long time.
Oh, and then Boomhauer's sitting there in the golf cart, and he says, "Well, keep your arms straight, or just speed it the hell up."
Speed it the hell up. That's right. Dale realizes he's out of cigarettes. And at the same time, Bobby asked him, Mr. Gribble, who's your hero? He said, "You are if you go get me some cigarettes."
You are if you go get me some smokes.
That's right.
Yeah. Which is funny. I guess that's the first time that you get to see what's his name's crippling cigarette addiction, Dale's cigarette addiction, because I mean it's a theme throughout the whole entire show, but this is there's even a whole episode dedicated to it, but this is the first time where you get to see how bad he likes cigarettes is this episode, because they got another cigarette comment that comes later. So
Bill's over there telling a joke about a priest and a stripper, and Hank gets upset because he's like, "Bill, the boy." He goes, and then the stripper says, "I've decided to repent and become a nun."
Oh, and then Boomhauer starts like, laughing. Boomhauer's the only one that's laughing, and he goes, "Oh, dang old nun."
Dang old nun. So Bobby picks up the club. He knocks the ball in the hole.
Oh,
first stroke.
And the way he swings it is just... Yeah. He's like hugging it with his full body and using his whole body to hit it.
Yeah. And Hank says, "You might be the next Lee Trevino."
Yeah, he was
that crazy accent.
Yeah, I looked him up. He was I actually don't watch a lot of golf, and the only one I've ever heard of or know anything about are the ones that are like top 3.
Yeah.
So I looked him up, and he was the only thing that he never got, I think, was a Masters, but he got every other champion. He got 6 major championships.
There used to be, and this is a Lee Trevino aside, there used to be a Mexican restaurant here in town called Trevino's.
Oh, okay.
And I remember going in there and seeing a picture of Lee Trevino on the wall, and apparently it was his cousin who owned the Mexican restaurant.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So anyway, they figure that Bobby's going to be great at golf, and so they have him try to tee off again a few times, and he's just terrible.
Couldn't replicate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hank advises him that he should swing less like a girl. But anyway, Bobby ends up letting go of the club during his swing. It goes off into the
airborne,
distance. And you see just the shadow of somebody over there, and the club hits him right in the head and knocks him the hell out.
Yep, and then they go over there, and sure enough, it's Willie Nelson, and then Dale slides up in the golf cart and tells Bobby, "Hop in. Hank, get rid of the witnesses."
Well, first he says check his pocket for cigarettes.
Yeah, check his pocket for cigarettes, yeah.
And then he wants him to get rid of the witnesses, Hank just gushes all over Willie Nelson because this is truly his idol. Says he's been to every Farm Aid but one because he doesn't care much for that Bryan Adams.
Yeah. And then now first he said, "Are you all right, Mr. Nelson?" He goes, "Am I bleeding from the ears?" He goes, "No." He said, "Well, I guess I'm all right."
Guess I'm all right then. And so Hank takes this opportunity to possibly get Willie Nelson to sign something for him. He wishes he had his guitar with him. but instead he produces what I can only guess is like a scorecard.
Yeah.
Right. And says, make it out to my best friend. No, I don't want you to lie. Just make it out to my good friend.
Yeah, and the thing is, the whole time he's chasing this golf cart as it's rolling down a hill, and like
Willie don't look
Willie's
good
like
either.
slumped over, like noticeably slumped over.
One of my favorite parts of this, and it happens twice, is where they show where Willie signed something, and it's literally just one line. Just
it's just a bunch of scribble. Yeah.
But then they read it. They're like,
they read it like there's actual
to my
something
number
there.
one fan. It's just a scribble.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Willie's in the cart looking bad. Hank chases him, yells at him about how he's his hero, and Dale remarks that he took our cart.
Yeah, he said he took our cart. Well, he did. He hopped in the cart and drove off in their cart. Yeah,
he just took off. So we're back at the Hill residence, and apparently Hank had been telling Peggy all about what happened, and Peggy was like, "Was he bleeding from the ears? No. Well, he must be okay then."
Yeah,
that's a great callback.
Yeah, I'll follow up on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Hank is really upset because, this has happened, and this is his idol, and, he was supposed to meet Willie Nelson. They were supposed to go out on tour together, and then they were supposed to open a chicken franchise.
Yeah, they had a bunch of ideas for everything, yeah.
Now how's that going to happen? Bobby hears how Hank is really disappointed in him because he's outside sitting in the front yard, and so he's trying to do something to make up for it. So Les from the guitar store comes up and asks, "Are you Hank Hill?" And he goes, "Yes." And so he takes the guitar from the kid, takes off on his bike, and we find out that he's headed to Willie Nelson's house.
Yep, I'm not sure how he was able to get from Arlen to Abbott, but he got there. Yeah, he found him.
I know he did hit a bump, and
he knocks the guitar. We're not gonna tell Dad about that one.
I'm not telling Dad about that one. Yeah. But he gets there, and Willie's house is all chained up. Because it's property of the IRS. And so Bobby hears some strumming or some beeping and booping coming from outside a trailer out in front of Willie Nelson's house. And so he goes over and finds Willie Nelson playing on a Game Boy, and asks him if he's playing Ben Crenshaw's Turbo Golf.
Ben Crenshaw's Turbo Golf. Yeah.
So Bobby gives him some tips on how to play, how to do better. And one of my favorite things that's ever happened in King of the Hill.
Oh, this exchange between Willie Nelson and Bobby. Yeah, I really like this exchange too.
All right, so you get Willie Nelson who says, "Hey, you're the kid that rakes my lawn." Bobby says, "No, I'm the kid who hit you in the head." Willie says, "With a rake?" Bobby says, "No, with a golf club." He says, "You've been raking my yard with a golf club? I want my quarter back."
I want my quarter back, yeah.
So he's paying some kid to rake his yard for a quarter.
For a quarter, yeah.
Right. So Bobby ends up calling Hank from Willie Nelson's house because he said, "Hey, Willie wants you to come over."
And then he goes, "You're teasing a gorilla in the monkey house,
You're teasing a gorilla in the monkey house." And Willie comes on the phone and says, Willie Nelson comes on, and Hank is like, "Oh, God, I'm so sorry." He goes, "Bobby's never stalked anyone before, and he's not very good at it."
Yeah. Which would be something like you'd think Bobby would do, as awkward as Bobby is.
You would, yeah, especially later in the series. So Hank ends up going to Willie's. There's at this point, there's a big party on the lawn.
Oh, yeah, big party.
Yeah, and he's just kind of walking around looking for Bobby, kind of yelling out for him.
And then
he does push one guy out of the way.
Rooster.
He says, "Get out of my way, Rooster Boy," and that's Lyle Lovett.
Lyle Lovett, yeah. That was his nickname, was Rooster Boy. Yeah, Lyle Lovett.
You never hear from Lyle, but I thought it was pretty funny. He sees Bobby playing with Willie, and walks up to him, and he's still real worried that Bobby has been stalking Willie Nelson. And Willie says to him, "I hear you're a good guitar player, and you've got a narrow urethra."
Yeah. Actually, is this the first? Is that also the first narrow urethra?
Maybe.
That might be. I have to look back. I have to go back and watch the last 5 episodes and see if that is.
So Willie had signed Hank's guitar, and excuse me. Willie ended up signing Hank's guitar, and again, we go back to the scribble.
Yeah, it's just a scribble on a piece of paper.
To my number one fan.
My number one fan.
Yeah. And then we see Luann braiding. It's back at Hank's house, and Luann is on the couch with Peggy, and she's braiding her hair and gets a call. And Luann's very disappointed because she almost had it. She almost had that braid. That's right. And Willie Hank tells Peggy all about how Willie wants him to come to his house and all this stuff. And she goes, "Well, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Ann Richards and I are doing our toenails."
Yeah, and then Willie picks up the phone and says, "No, you're not. She's over here playing volleyball with."
That's right. She's playing tetherball.
Tetherball, yeah.
Yeah, she's playing
with
tetherball
the roadies.
with one of my roadies. Yeah. We get there, and Hank is playing Betsy with Willie, who's playing Trigger, which is Willie Nelson's guitar for years and years and years.
Wore out guitar, but it's his guitar.
And Peggy overhears Hank recite that joke again. I'd sell my wife before I'd sell my guitar, and boy, does that piss her off.
Oh, it pisses her off. Yeah, she goes and sits with what's his name? Dennis Hopper.
She goes and sits with Dennis Hopper.
Which this is actually Dennis Hopper's voice.
Yes,
so it's the first two celebrity appearances, I think, for celebrity voices.
One of the funny things that happens between them, though, is Boomhauer and Bob Dylan over by a tree, just mumbling
at each other. Yeah. And he was like, it sounded like he was doing song lyrics, like he was like doing song titles or whatever.
Yeah. And then you see Bill and Dale criticizing some girl. I thought maybe the girl was somebody, but I guess it's just a girl at the
that's
party.
my favorite scene out of this because it reminds me of my dad pouring his beer as a kid, and like he hated when he would go somewhere and they'd have way too much foam on it. He goes, "I pay for beer, not foam."
That's right.
And what they said, angle the glass, you're blowing it, nothing but foam.
And she gets it fine. She just
and it's a good
off.
beer. Yeah, it's a good beer. She didn't pour a bad one.
She just walks off, and they both just like, yep. That's it. So then we see Dennis Hopper sitting on a picnic table with Peggy. Dennis Hopper is just going to town on some watermelon. Like, I mean,
absolutely,
going to town
almost
on some
obscenely,
watermelon. Yeah. And he's talking to Peggy. He said, "Peggy, let's drive to Mexico." Yeah. Peggy's griping, and she says, she's talking about Hank, kind of under her breath. She says, "Los mariachis son diablos."
Yeah.
Guitar playing fool. Dennis says, "He didn't treat you right. You want me to kick his ass?" She says how sweet he is, but she goes, "You're sweet, Dennis Hopper, but Hank would flatten you like a bug."
Yeah, Hank would flatten you like a bug.
So we're back at Willie, and he's complimenting Bobby, and he said, "That's some boy you got there." And Hank's like, "Well, I don't know. When I was your age, I worshipped you and Jesus, of course."
Yeah.
Talking to
and
Willie
then he kind of goes on about how he feels about Bobby and all the stuff that Bobby's done throughout the episode, and how he feels. And he looks at, and this is where you get your morality lesson from, is right here. So he goes, "Well, he needs a hero," and he goes, "Well, Hank Hall." He calls him Hank Hall. He said, "Bobby wants to play your guitar, your mower, wants to ride your mower." He goes, "Well, maybe you are his hero, Hank Hall."
Yeah. And it clicks for Hank at that point, and Hank and Bobby kind of bond over that, and Hank starts singing that song that he wrote a long time ago about Peggy, about Peg-a-leg.
Peg-a-leg.
Yeah. And it's funny because like in all situation comedy fashion, she overhears it and all's forgiven.
All's forgiven.
Everything's great.
All's forgiven. It takes her back to the moment in time where he wrote that song for her.
Yeah. I was headed over here to knock you 6 ways to Sunday, and then I saw you playing that guitar and singing that song. I love you, propane man.
Yeah. Oh, heck. And that's the thing that made me laugh too at the very, very beginning of the episode with Willie Nelson, when he's sitting there with Willie, and Willie mentions, "Oh, well, I wish I could sell propane and propane accessories too."
That's right.
Yeah, I wish I could be a propane salesman.
Well, it's funny. Time's funny over there.
Oh yeah.
So one of the last things we see is Willie's sitting there and he's getting his hair braided by Luann. And he talks about how she braided it perfect, but next time ease up on the glitter spray.
Ease up on the glitter spray,
right.
Yeah.
That's right. So we get our credits, and again, unique after credits during credits scene here.
Yeah.
We get Hank and Willie just sitting there strumming and kind of BSing with each other, and then in the background we see Ann Richards playing tetherball.
Yeah. Which Ann Richards was the Democrat.
Ann Richards was the
governor.
Well, she was the Democratic governor of Texas. Yeah, she's
the
one
last Democratic governor of Texas.
She is the one that brought us the lottery. We did not have the lottery until Ann Richards.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
She's the one that signed it in. She's the one that promised that all the money would go to education. And obviously that's happened because our educational system here in Texas is
wonderful.
Premier.
Well, I'm sure she had good intentions, but I guess
I'm sure.
I'm guessing since she was the last Democratic president, or governor. Sorry,
Yeah.
not president.
Yeah, Texas is a funny place. When we have Democratic governors, they're almost more Republican than the Republicans sometimes.
Sometimes, absolutely. And if we can get a Democratic governor, that's the key.
Yeah.
Can't even really they can't even really get a word in edgewise because of the gerrymandering and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, this episode is absolutely one of my favorites. It's got some great quotes in it. It is now you were telling me before this that it was written by.
Oh yeah, it was written by. Hold on, let me grab my notes back out here.
Yeah.
So it was written by. This episode was written by Johnny Hardwick. Okay, and he's the guy who voices Dale. He's a great comedian. And then it was directed by a guy named Monty Young, and it was really hard to find anything about him. I had to dig for it, but apparently in the 90s he was really involved with Disney TV. So Winnie the Pooh, Gummy Bears, DuckTales, Rescue Rangers, Aladdin, The Wuzzles, and he did all that. And then in 97 he did King of the Hill. So he did 3 episodes of King of the Hill, and then went on to do Cow and Chicken, and then went on to do Family Guy, and then
it sounds like King of the Hill really changed the trajectory of this guy because he was doing Gummy Bears and stuff like that.
And absolutely.
And then he does King of the Hill, and then all of a sudden he's like Cow and Chicken.
Yeah, he went from campy kids comedy on TV to doing King of the Hill, and then going from King of the Hill to going to outlandish crap like Cow and Chicken. I don't know how you go from there to there, but Cow and Chicken, that was a really odd, weird one.
Yeah. Well, this was another good one.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great one.
It's a great episode.
Wimatanye
to you as well. And I guess we'll call it quits.
That's it. That's a wrap. That's an episode.
Now we got to go watch episode 5.
1,000 times.
1,000 times.
Just to make sure.
This is like purgatory all of a sudden.
Almost. I've watched a lot of King of the Hill. I don't mind it, though.
All right, man. Well, you guys take it easy. Wimatanye to all of you, and we'll see you next time, I'll tell you what.
Wimatanye.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.
Bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach,
And I'm Mike.
and we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros, Foes, Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and foes and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Welcome to One Star Rewind, a new podcast about those dreaded one-star reviews that every business owner hates to receive, but yet every customer loves to read. During this podcast, we will peel back that one-star review to better understand how it happened, when it happened, and what the business owner is doing after receiving that one-star review. This podcast will be about love, hate, and laughter. On One Star Rewind, We will meet with real business owners who will tell their stories and how they do rely on reviews for their business. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or download us at roguemedianetwork.com. Please subscribe, but only rate and review for not a 1-star review. Join us each time for a new review and a new story.